Welcome to the Lifeshine Generosity Project, where we promote reckless generosity. My name's John Whitt, and I'm your host. We encourage our guests to shine their light bright on their good deeds and glorify our Father in heaven. Today our guest is Marcia Riner. Marcia is the CEO of Trajectory Consulting. She's a speaker, an author, a podcast host, and a powerful visionary. Marcia, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, John. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Can we start off just tell me a little bit this powerful visionary. Give me some details there, and then share a little bit of your story. How did you get into this space?
So being a powerful visionary, that's something that's just kind of landed at me. When you can see so much more in your clients than they can see, that's where I come in. That's my superpower. When I'm speaking to my clients and they share with me the vision of where they think their company can go, I can see it. I can see it, and then I start to put it into place. And that's where I think is my special power, is to be able to see where they can't. So that's the powerful visionary piece.
So how'd you get to this place?
Long journey. I could go back to when I was a kid selling lemonade, but I won't do that.
I sold newspapers and popcorn at Little League ball games.
So you're the same entrepreneurial type I am forever. But really, truly, what happened was I came from a family of business owners. Mom and dad both owned different businesses and were very successful in their career, but they never really planned for how they were going to get out of their business. And fast forward, I became a financial advisor, and I was working with clients to help them plan for their future. And that involved a detailed plan proving that they would have success. And they would come to me. Many of these were business owners. They'd come to me and say that, yeah, I'm going to sell my business someday, and that's what I wanted to plan for retirement with. And there was a big problem. See, they had no idea what their business was worth, let alone how they could ensure that they could get that business value or even sell it later on. So that big gaping hole in their financial plan hurt me. It caused me failure, caused them failure, and I couldn't continue. So about 2017, I decided to shift out of the traditional financial planning and exit planning I was doing, and I went into business consulting to help my clients to ensure that business asset could be something of value later on for them.
And when you say consulting, because I say coaching, consulting, there's a little bit difference. Can you share kind of what your interpretation there is?
Apples, oranges, potato, there's so many different variations. What I do is I sit with my clients at their corporate table, their boardroom, and I help guide them. So whether you call that consulting or whether you call that coaching, the fine line is either you tell them to do something or you help them do something. I think it's kind of the same thing. But I do a little bit of both. I'm very strategic and I see the big picture. Remember that visionary part? And then I put together all the steps that they need to do. Then I help guide them. I don't get in and really, shovel things for them, but I do help guide them to achieve the goals that they're looking for.
So I always looked at coaching and consulting in the sense that a consultant comes in and does something for you, and when it's done, they go away. When you need them again, you bring them back. Whereas a coach is really helping you get from that place of maybe I know how to do something to I know how to do it well.
Right.
And I use a lot of sports analogies, right? Coaches, and so everybody knows how to play golf, but how to play it well is a little different story, right?
It's a big difference.
Yeah, and the same with most sports. We understand the rules and the process, but playing it well is different, and so that's where your coach comes into play, is
Right.
how do you do it well? And they can't do it for you.
No.
Right?
No.
So that's my division.
Again, it's a very, your idea of, or your definition of coaching and consulting is very accurate. I come from a place of helping and giving, right? I mean, I'm so helpful, and oftentimes I start to fall in love with that business like it was my own. And that kind of gets in the way, but that's where the coaching and consulting kind of blurs for me, is that I'm doing so much for the company to help guide them and support them and get them to the position that they want to be in, which is more profits. That's where the line gets blurred.
Well, so you're talking about giving, right, and being generous. That's the point of this show. So can we move in that direction just a little bit? Can you share some of the things that you do from a generosity giving standpoint?
We all get into business because we think we can do something, right? And then we tend to wrap a business around it, which causes the problem because we don't think like a business owner. We're still thinking about doing the actual tactician work on it. So again, my skill set is that visionary and to be able to go in and see the places and the gaps and the holes that the clients can't see. And when I get involved with the companies, I get so connected to them. I see it as part of my own business. And when I do that, I'm giving more value than probably I'm even charging. And that helps the business to grow. And in a generosity mode, I'm giving so much to that company of my soul, energy, skills, tactics, strategies that I do, that they become a stronger company. And with that stronger company, they actually end up becoming better, bigger, stronger for their community, for their employees, for their clients, for their family, and that creates more of a generous opportunity for them to do more. When you have a stronger company, you can do more. And I think that's where the generosity hits with me.
Well, I think it certainly does, and I think you hit on something that's really interesting in that many coaches give away before they charge. Sometimes they're guilty of giving away way too much, but it's sort of in the nature of coaching, in the sense that we want other people to be better. We want other people to be more successful. And so we just kind of do what we think is the right things to do. Yeah, and sometimes we over-give.
We over-deliver.
It is what it is, but I'd rather over-deliver, under-promise and over-deliver than the opposite. So now in terms of, we talked about some other generosity things. You serve on a couple of boards.
Yeah, I am so honored to be part of Veterans Legal Institute. This is an organization here in Orange County that helps veterans that need assistance, and it's done with a whole array of attorneys that are providing help in getting their benefits reinstated, maybe getting a housing situation corrected. Maybe they had a little bit of trouble and they just need some help and guidance. And I do this because, first of all, the organization is fantastic and helps so many people. But my son is now a Marine in his third year down in Pendleton, and I do it to honor him because someday he and his friends have given so much of their time, energy, and really their life for the first couple of years that I wanted to make sure that he had a resource that could help him and his friends. So that's where I help.
I think your giving in that space is only just getting started.
Yeah.
And I have many friends that have sons and daughters that have gone into the service, and their giving and an understanding of that world has grown and it's shifted because until your child is in it, you don't really know what it is.
It's a selfless place. It really is. They do so much. They give their body, their souls, their energy, their time. Sometimes sadly their life. And all the rest of us say is thank you for your service, which may not be enough.
Yeah. So and so, like I said, I think you're giving because your son is just kind of getting started. Your giving in that space is probably just getting started as well. So we're going to talk some more generosity, and we may come back into that space. But before we go there, share a little bit about who most benefits from your products. From your services, not so much products.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
So what I do is I'm a business growth strategist, and I help primarily service companies, blue collar, white collar, to increase their profitability and be in a position that they have a business asset that they could sell. So when we're talking about who really needs that service, again, most business owners, they had a skill, right? I could repair something, or I was an attorney, or I was a CPA, and I had a skill set. Then mistakenly they wrap a business around it, forgetting that there's business skills that are involved with it. And those get in the way, the lack of those get in the way of the profitability of the company. They start wearing many hats: the marketing, the accounting, the sales, the cleaning the garbage cans, they're everything. And what it does is it dilutes the business itself. So how I help these companies, again, these are blue collar and white collar services, is I help them through my Profit Accelerator program, where we can find some serious cash, easily 10,000 to 100,000 in just a short time. And then we show them how to achieve that. And that there goes back to our generosity. If I can help them improve their profitability, they can then serve their family, their employees, and their community a lot better.
So it's really interesting, and I totally get your analogy. These are experts, people that have maybe great education or a great skill, and it could be contractors, could be attorneys, could be doctors, dentists, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
They didn't go to school for business.
No.
And then they wrap this business around it, but they don't have the business skills to serve it effectively. They're still really good at what they do, but
100%.
but how do you run that business effectively? And I really appreciate the what'd you call it? Profit Accelerator?
Profit Accelerator,
Profit
yes.
Accelerator. I really appreciate it. I like the term because what we're talking about, what you're talking about, what coaching does is it requires change, right?
Yes.
So if they stay the same, they're going to get the same results. And it requires change, right? And change takes some motivation. There has to be some reason why I should change. And so if you point out and say, hey, look, here's 10,000, here's 100,000, you think you're interested in changing? Should we put a marketing plan together? Should we put a sales team together? Whatever those strategies are. You're giving them the level of incentive that says, yeah, let's go make a change. And then ultimately, it makes this huge difference in their lives, in their families' lives, the businesses' lives, the community, et cetera, et cetera.
Exponentially, it changes. And these aren't things that actually cost you a lot of money to implement. It's just those things that you were never taught in the first place. And it's a step-by-step, easy to follow method that ensures those results. And the greatest thing that I find in it is that here I'm asking you to pay me for my consulting service, but I end up showing you an ROI that you can get before you even hire me. So that to me is motivation to say, hey, let's go forward with this. Let's figure out how to make my company strong and build it in a way that, again, I can sell it someday in the future. That's a two-win plan here. You're getting more revenue today, and you're getting a business asset you can sell in the future. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, so from a return on investment standpoint, you are free with a profit.
I love that. I'm going to steal that idea. That's fantastic, John.
Okay, so let's shift, right? The types of problems, let's take this client base that you've talked about. What are the top challenges that they're dealing with today? And it changes because the economy changes,
gosh.
everything else, but what are you seeing today? We've come out of COVID, the economy's got some weird stuff going on with it.
You could call it weird, yes. I think the biggest challenge that these business owners have, and there's probably a laundry list of them, but because I mentioned that they're wearing so many hats, that oftentimes they don't have the opportunity to really step back and look at the business because they're so busy putting out fires and chasing clients. And that gets in the way of them making a plan and a solid strategy to improve the business. So that's probably the biggest one, is that they're not taking the time to step back and look and figure out ways that they can improve their business.
Well, the reason why they don't have a strategy and a plan. I mean, that's what you're bringing to the table.
Yes.
Is you're bringing the strategy and the plan.
Yes. Yeah, so that causes a big problem. And so, like most of us, if we were to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday and we knew exactly what we needed to do to achieve the results we wanted, wouldn't that be a nicer way than going, what am I going to do today? Who am I going to call? I just need to make one more call. Well, having a plan in place eliminates all the concern and it increases your confidence. So when you're making those calls, they come out much better.
Okay, so planning and strategy, and you're totally right? So the contractor, general contractor, painter, whatever, they're really good at painting,
Sure.
or the doctor's really good at medical, and I'm not going to teach them anything about being a doctor. I don't know how to do that.
No.
But when it comes to building a business plan, like how are they going to set up their office, or how are they going to set up their team, or how are they going to keep track of stuff?
Right.
They usually don't have any of those skills.
And it causes a lot of problems with that. And that's really truly where you shouldn't be an island. You're not all by yourself, and you shouldn't be running your business all by yourself. When you're the creative and the executioner and the judge and jury on your own business, it causes a lot of problems. So no business that has ever been successful in the world has ever done it with one person sitting behind a computer going, what do I do? They always ask for help. They go to people that have done it before, that have clear, proven systems, that can shortcut the learning phase and the skill set. And very often they're able to see the holes, the gaps that you can't see because you're so close to it. So I always advise that you get some help from a professional, from someone who's at least a chapter ahead of you, and often more so, that have done it and understand what that means. Then you're no longer on that island all by yourself. You've got the support to grow the business and then start building the team to help you scale it.
So lack of planning, lack of strategy, problems that they're dealing with. Anything else that's poking up today?
So the funny thing is, most small businesses are part of a commodity business, right? There's 1 or 2 or 20 or 50 of them on every corner. So if you're a financial advisor, for example, there's dozens and dozens that are standing right next to you saying the exact same thing that you say. Oh, I help you X, Y, Z. I do this, I'm great. And that's a huge problem, is being able in this as a small business owner to differentiate yourself from the competition and make it a no-brainer as to why you're the best choice for your client. Because sales isn't a forceful event. A sale is the client making a decision that you're the best choice for them and the most value for them. So I think many small business owners forget about creating this market universal, whatever you call it, I'm blanking on the name of UVP, your image and who you are and what you do. But when you do this correctly and you put it in a position that it's from the client's point of view, the client makes it so it's almost a no-brainer that you're the expert, you're the best solution for them for the price you're offering. And I think that's the baseline for every business and probably one of the bigger problems that they have.
Marketing. It's a really unknown term in that expert space.
Yeah.
The old days where, kind of the salesperson did the business and the marketing. So they went out and they talked to you and they answered your questions, et cetera, et cetera. Now we have this digital marketing thing, and it's a one-way message, right? And if we don't do that right, and if we don't have that differentiator right, I mean, differentiation is kind of key number one in the marketing world.
It is.
And if we can't stand apart, then we can't sell effectively, or we can't, I don't want to say sell, because I don't like selling stuff to anybody. I like to let people buy things.
Right. You're serving them.
Right. I want to serve them. So if they want to buy something, but they have to know that I'm the right thing to buy, right? Because money's a limited resource. And we've all, well, I don't know about you, but I've made bad buying decisions in the past.
Yes,
right?
we have.
So I try to avoid that wherever I can. And everybody I know tries to do the same thing. So it really is all about helping them make the best decision.
It is.
So marketing, sales, strategy, planning, this is a whole lot different than the medical profession or the legal profession or the contractor profession or the cleaning profession, right? Those are all business skills that they need some help with. And those are the kinds of problems that you solve, really, when you bring them to the table. And it might be you help them do it for them. I can imagine you help them in the differentiation space from a visionary standpoint. What does that look like? But sometimes they have to do stuff for themselves, and you can coach them to.
They really have to. I mean, if business was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? Business is hard. It's a challenge. Like I said, we're wearing all these hats. We're trying to achieve a goal. We're trying to do something good out there. And if you don't do it right, then it ends up costing you a lot of money, energy, and time. You go back and get another job, which nobody wants. It is hard. But if you follow the systems and you follow the ideas that people lay out in front of you, then you can achieve those goals. And then you can have the lifestyle that you want and the enjoyable business that you want that could provide a retirement asset for you. It could provide a legacy for your family. It's kind of nice going down the road and going, yeah, there's my name on that storefront. That's my company. That's my baby. I did that. And it's actually the lifeblood of the economy is us small business owners. So my goal is to help you all succeed, as many as I can.
So let's take that audience, the small business owner, the expert, craftsman, educated. Let's be generous for just a minute, right? What are some things they should avoid?
Whew. again, trying to do it all by themselves is probably the number one avoidance. And just try and you know that silly Einstein, I think it's Einstein, that said if you continue to do the same thing over and over, that's insanity, right?
Yes, right.
And
yes.
hoping for different results. So things don't work, or maybe you don't have the answers or the knowledge to be able to get past that wall that you're facing. Go ask for help. Go find help. There's plenty of people out there that know how to drill a hole through that wall, to climb over the wall, or better yet, go around the wall, And if you don't ask for help, then you're just going to keep beating your head against the wall.
Before you leave that topic, and I think it's a really valuable topic, whenever we're learning something new, whoever we are, we're going to make mistakes because we've not done it before. This is humanity at its best. It's when you make the same mistake more than once, right? Which never pleasant. Right, and I know that on the golf course, every now and then I have to relearn a mistake that I learned years ago. But in business, right, you see, you made the mistake the first time. You're like, okay, I'm going to try something different, and you try it, and it doesn't work. Or you did the same thing, you didn't even realize what was causing the mistake, and so you got the failed results once again. For successful people, I think they raise their hand faster than anybody else.
Yes.
They realize that they don't know it all, and as soon as they figure out that they're on what I call the failure to learn curve, because if you're learning, trial and error, oldest learning tool in the history of mankind, right? And as long as we're learning and we're changing, we're growing, we'll actually get there eventually. But if we fail to learn, if we fail to adjust to our mistakes, then we're not going to get there. We'll never get there. It's like two parallel lines never meet.
Right.
So if you're making mistakes, how quickly now we can't ask them to raise their hand after the first mistake, but how quickly after that? What's your recommendation?
Well, let's take a step back, maybe a different focus on it. Instead of when the problem occurs, to go ahead and keep trying to do it yourself. How about thinking about more of what is your strength in the company? What is something that only you can do? And that I call your genius zone. And that's where you should be focusing your time. Remember I said you shouldn't be doing this alone. That doesn't always mean advisors. That means help in the office. That means someone doing the accounting for you, because that's something you shouldn't be doing, right? Maybe it's somebody, if sales is something that's uncomfortable and ooey gooey for you, even though it's the lifeblood of your company, maybe you bring someone in to do that for you. And I think that's how you start to avoid the problems, because if you're trying to do everything, you're almost doing nothing. And I think if you can put people in place earlier rather than later, then your business is going to be able to grow, and you're going to be leveraging other people's time to be able to do it right. But here's the concern that most small businesses face when it comes to hiring, is they're like, oh my gosh, now I have somebody else on my payroll. I have somebody else that I'm covering, and it could cost me a lot of money. But when done right, you're actually hiring somebody who's going to increase your profitability. They're going to free up your time, and that's worth their salary.
I like to say that, if I'm going to spend $20, $25 an hour having somebody help me out, right? That's going to let me do things that are worth $100 or $150 or $200, whatever that big number is. And if I'm making $200 an hour, I can certainly afford $25 an hour.
Exactly.
Right? But if I don't, if I'm doing that $25 an hour work, I'm costing myself money.
Costing yourself $175 every hour, because you could be doing $200 worth of work every hour.
So think about that. If that's like 10% of your time over the course of a year, how much money is that?
That's a lot of money. I mean, I'd have to get out my calculator, because I can't add 2 and 2 without my calculator.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a significant amount of money that exponentially causes problems everywhere in your business. And so that's why I like to focus on what is your genius role in the company, and stick to that, and then hire out. A lot of the hiring doesn't mean you have to have them on payroll, pay benefits, pay retirement funds and all that kind of stuff on it. But if you hire out, temporary employees, tasked employees, there's still ways, even with all the employment laws out there, for you to hire the right people to do the right job and take that responsibility off your back, so you can do more in the $200 range if we're using that example.
So we talk about that incentive, right? Let's go make $200 an hour
Exactly.
instead of $25 an hour. Share a little bit about would you take a minute and share a little bit about your process when you're working with a new client? What does that look like?
You know, I myself, you know, I used to do it all manually and go through there and meet with the client and come up with the ideas, come back, make proposals, make directions for them. But I've now gotten lucky enough to get this fantastic software that helps me do it. And it helps me do it really quickly and find those gaps that my clients have. So when I go through my Profit Accelerator, which is really the first step I work with my clients, we're able to find the gaps that they can't see and then build out that strategy so we know exactly where they need to go to make the biggest and quickest impact in their company. Then from there, there's a step-by-step process for them to go out and achieve it. And with my help and with the software help, it really skyrockets the client's trajectory, which is the name of my company, which I love, Trajectory Consulting. Anytime I can use the word trajectory in a path, it excites me. But it really improves the trajectory of their profits because they see that and they see it quicker than they could have on their own.
So we're talking about your process and technology. And we were just talking about hiring and delegation to bring. So
Exactly.
I think there's two ways to be more efficient, right? Technology is one of them, and the challenge is that we have to learn the technology.
Yeah.
Because they're not all that easy.
No, this one's, well, for me it's easy.
Well,
but
you've been doing it.
I've been doing this for a long time in one way, shape, or form, probably a good 25 years. And so it comes naturally after a while for me, but yes.
Yeah, so technology is one way, and obviously some additional labor, resources. I mean, that's how you scale. That's how you get to that level.
That's it.
Okay, I want to talk about a specific client maybe a little bit more.
You bet.
What's a great success story?
Well, I've got many success stories right now that are just bubbling with me, and it fills my heart and allows me to keep pushing forward. But I've got several ideas of people that I've worked with that have had such truly great success on it. One of those was an attorney that I worked with, and this attorney was a 30-year practicing attorney that thought his business was all about him. And what we found was when we first ran the value of his company, it was almost zero without him. And then we put some people and processes in place, and in a very, very, very short time, we're talking it was less than 6 months, his company started to grow. And now that we've been working together for over a year and a half, his company is now worth over $1 million because it's no longer about him. It's about the separate entity of the company. Now he's still there, he's still running, he's loving it, and he's making great relationships, but he has help to grow, and the company will be able to continue along without him. So that's just one of the stories. I mean, I have so many I could share.
Well, let's stay on the tune with this one here, right? So this attorney, we'll let him be nameless for now. When he engaged you because he wanted to make his company better. He wanted to be more profitable. And you got him to do that. But what were some of the surprise benefits that he got?
Well, actually, he came to me because he wanted to sell his company in a couple of years. He wanted to become a judge. And what the biggest surprise was, he started to love his practice again and decided to kick the judgeship to the curb. And he's now staying on as the rainmaker, and he's got support with lesser junior attorneys, we'll call them, being able to help him do the work. So now he's like, wait a minute, I don't have to go be a judge. I don't have to retire. I can be the rainmaker for years, which was his favorite part, building the relationships and developing them and coming up with the strategies.
So thank you. That's really awesome. And I find that it's pretty typical that we deliver the service that we promised, but there's other benefits that they never, ever expected. So thinking in terms of this small business owner, you can stay in tune with the attorney concept if you'd like, or you pick another one. But what are give me 3 tips. Okay. 3 tips that, be generous, give us 3 tips that the small business owner could use and take action today to achieve better results.
Okay, well, in one of my books, and by the way, I've written a couple of books, and in my first book, it was all about growing big profits. And in that first book, I gave a basic equation. And I tried to coin it, but it was so basic they wouldn't let me. So it was increasing profits and cutting costs make more profits, right? And so in half of the book, I gave a bunch of profitable ideas that the business owner could implement to grow their profits. And then the flip side of that was ways to cut costs so that you can increase the profitability, right? More revenue, less costs equals more profits. And in my new book, we actually come out with 12 strategies that you can put in. Now, most of those strategies are growth type strategies. So like finding more leads, the marketing dominating message that you have. It's about having, maybe it's an upsell or a downsell that you can add on there. So there's many, many ways to increase your income. But there's only a few ways to cut costs. And those ways are really important to look at. And if you are in a manufacturing company, obviously the cost of basis on your widgets and cost of goods sold and so on. But for us in services, oftentimes it's our relationships that we make with our suppliers and ways that we can cut those costs. Or it could be operating costs. As COVID has shown us, you don't have to work in an office space anymore to be an official business. You can work out of your home space or a shared space and reduce costs dramatically. And still, now with the comfortable nature of Zoom, you meet your clients online. Or maybe it's if you're a plumber, you reduce your cost by refinancing your truck, or you get different trucks or different products. So again, you're always looking at ways to increase your revenue, but there are also ways to cut costs. And I think in the basis of both of my books, it all leads to greater profits.
Okay, let me have the book titles again, please. Just because
So my first book, which is about 4 or 5 years old now, it's called Big Profit Secrets Exposed. And in my new book that I just released, it's called The Profit Accelerator. So it's they're all just really great ideas. When you feel so passionate about what you've learned and what you're sharing with your clients, you want to share it with everybody. And that's why the books just come out, because it's so much easier to share it on that kind of level.
Well, and we'll put information on where to get the books at the back of the video
Thanks.
here. So thank you for sharing on that. I got another one that's a really kind of a fun question.
Okay.
And we'll wrap up shortly thereafter. But so you're a financial planner, financial advisor first, then moved into the coaching/consulting space in 2017. Is that about right? Okay. So as a financial advisor, were you all by yourself? Or,
No.
Okay, so you were the team.
No, yeah.
Right? But now as a coach, you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
You're a solopreneur.
Well, I have a couple of supporting staff that help me out. But yeah, I'm primarily solopreneur. So.
Well, in 2017, you were a solopreneur.
I was a
you didn't have any,
solopreneur.
Okay, so here's what I'd like you to share with us. Be generous and share the lessons learned, the 3 things that you learned that taught you the most. And usually this comes from the school of hard knocks, because
Sure
you
does.
screwed up and you said, I'm not going to do that anymore. So would you share?
Well, gosh, if I'm thinking about the biggest mistakes I made, was probably not going out on my own earlier, thinking that I needed that corporate umbrella or coat around me to keep me safe. You know, I had a hard time in my life. Life changes, my mom got sick, divorce, all that kind of stuff, kept me small. And it kept me staying with the corporate environment, doing financial planning for a big organization, because I needed that safety net of a big name. That was a big mistake, because had I done it earlier, I would have been able to free up myself, give myself the lifestyle that I wanted, without the constraints and compliance and structure that the corporate,
rules.
Right. I'm a free bird. I'm constantly thinking outside the box for my clients and for my own business. And I felt like, it was funny, I used to, when I was trying to decide to leave, I felt like I was in a little box with duct tape all around it and a bunch of little pinholes to breathe from, because they had their vision on how they saw things. And because I'm such a visionary, I wanted more. I wanted to do more, be more, help more for my clients, and I couldn't do that in that environment. So I'm wishing that I had gone out on my own a lot earlier and been able to help more people like I have. So I think that was my biggest lesson. Do you want more?
Yeah, I want two more.
You want two
I'm going to
more?
follow the law of three.
Okay, so the second situation was to stop trying to do it all myself. So I'm a marketing geek by interest, so I'm always trying to figure out how to grow my practice and market more. So I would get in and I would go take the time away from working with clients and try and figure out how to build my website, my landing page, and my email sequence, and all these things that were like, I shouldn't have been doing. I should have been doing what my real true skill set was, which was helping customers to scale their business. And so that was big mistake number 2. So I took too long to go out, and I started doing too many things on my own. And I think the third thing was trying to pretend that I was bigger than I am. So I wanted to, like, before Zoom came out, I got an office space, and I hung out my shingle, and I pretended that I was big, right? It was just me. I didn't need that, and it cost me a lot of money in the process. So when COVID hit, I had already come and started working out of my home, but I would get dressed up in a suit, right, and I'd have a nice backdrop, and I'd pretend that I was in a real office when I was in my apartment. And so having that freedom or silver lining kind of, that COVID brought to us was allowing me to work with my clients in my authentic place, right? I'm there in a t-shirt and flip-flops, and my hair's in a ponytail, and I'm talking to my clients on Zoom, and they see my messy apartment. Not all the time, but it's like, it gave me so much more because I connected so much more deeply with my clients because they saw the real me.
No,
instead of some
authenticity.
Instead of some facade I was putting on to make myself look and feel and be big, and so those were my 3 of many mistakes.
I think we're going to find that while COVID was difficult, terrible, not anything I'd wish on anybody, but I think we're going to find that we learned some very positive things from that in how we do it. Even if it's just how to get through something like that, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah, how to plan for change, right? None of us like change, but if we don't change, we're never going to succeed. We need that change. We need a fresh new view. We need to meet the customers where they are. We need to get out of our sticky, uncomfortable place and step out to serve the customers. And we can't do that if we're still doing it the way we were in, let's call it 2015. Let's call it 2020. Let's call it whatever year. Innovation is absolutely necessary to succeed, and that innovation sometimes takes help.
Innovation in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
Marcia, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here and sharing and being generous.
Thank you so much, John. This was a fantastic opportunity, and you know what the real surprise out of this conversation is just how generous I am and those around me are without even realizing it. So thanks for bringing that up.
It's surprising. And and our goal here is to have you in the audience just look at life from a generosity perspective. Just be a little bit more generous, understand the value and the benefits, the blessings that come with generosity. So for those of you that have been watching us today, thank you so much for joining us. Please be generous. Scroll down, hit that subscribe button, maybe send us a comment. Would really, really appreciate that. After that, just let your light shine bright before others on your good deeds. Make a difference in the world today. We love you and we care about you, and we'll see you next week.